Hello everybody, it's Colin Ellis here. This is Culture Brief. I'm still in London, although it's noticeably colder now. But it's lighter in the morning, so that's good. It's the 2nd of November 2022. A couple of stories in the papers that I wanted to draw your attention to. Although I'm talking as if I think there's like a million people watching this. But Mark and Linda, if for nobody else, it's just for you guys, okay? Seem to be surrounded by crows this morning. Alfred Hitchcock moment. Although there's 4 of them eating curry out of a tray over there. So maybe that's what they're interested in. Maybe they're not here for the culture briefing. Anyway, that's your street update done. 2 stories. One was in the paper yesterday, which I haven't brought with me. I'm really sorry about that. I've recycled it. That I really wanted to talk about, and it was about HS2. HS2 is a major railway infrastructure project here in the UK, and it's a bit of a political football, and it's currently going through the will it, won't it happen kind of thing. But I don't really want to talk about the project, but the last thing you want to do is for me to talk about my politics. I want to talk about projects more generally, because in the article it talked about things like time and cost and all of those good things you do when you talk about projects. And it's something dear to my heart, it's something that I did back in the day. I spent 15 years in project management, and 15 very happy years. And I think when I look back on why those projects were successful, is the organisation I was working for actually invested in project management. An event last week that I talked about this concept of accidental project managers. And I still don't think organisations take project management seriously. They love the rush to implement a new method or a Prince 2 shop. Great, that's brilliant. We're going agile. Oh, amazing. But it's still people that deliver projects. And actually, what we need are people who know how to motivate and inspire people. What we need is for those people to have, yes, the technical skills. They know how to produce a schedule, manage risk, and all that good stuff. But they've also got to know how to have a courageous conversation. They've got to know how to create a vision for a project. They've got to know how to set expectations really well. They've got to know how to hold people accountable. They've got to manage upwards really well. And yet we still have, project management is still seen as a bit of a development opportunity. Oh, you're free. You can manage a project. Like, how many accidental brain surgeons do you know? How many organisations would say, you know what, we're accountant light. Right, Jane, you're not doing anything this week. We want you to be an accountant for the week. Well, like, I'm joking, but I'm not. Organisations don't take it. Globally, we spend between $3 and $30 trillion a year on projects. And yet the Project Management Institute, the global body for project management, said in a paper in 2019, despite all the talk, I'm paraphrasing it, despite all the talk, I'm not paraphrasing, this is the exact quote, I know it. Despite all the talk, project performance hasn't really improved. That's the actual quote. And it's true, because organisations aren't going to take it seriously. So if your organisation really wants to improve project performance, you've got to put time, money and effort into training people in the stuff that matters. Yes, it's important that you have a process. Do you need a PMO, project management office? No, it's up to you. Yes, it's important that you have a way of reporting progress, but only if it's true and, no one's being asked to whitewash it. But more important is we actually give people some of the leadership and team building skills that are required to deliver projects successfully. So I wanted to talk about that. That's the first thing I want to talk about. The second thing, which is in the paper this morning, is I can't work in the office safely. It talks largely about over 50s, and it relates to a couple of things. Firstly, some people are leaving the workforce because they can't find jobs. So it's a touch of ageism. Some people are leaving the workforce because they've had enough and they can retire. So I'm not going to talk about you guys. Good for you. Well done. Congratulations. And then there's a group of people who are immunocompromised. And so I think it's important that organisations consider. Now, it's specifically, it relates to the article. It talks about the over 50s because they're more immunocompromised because of their age. But obviously there are lots of people under 50 who are immunocompromised, so I don't want to discount those guys. It's not about an age range here. As we move back to the office, And as we start to kind of experiment with this hybrid, 2-3 days, because some things are still best done in person, right? But it is important that we consider that people who are immunocompromised, and we don't go back to tarring everybody with the same brush. And I talked in an earlier culture briefing about this kind of open plan office where we think everybody works the same, we think everyone communicates the same, they don't. Also, we think everyone's health conditions are the same, and they're not. It's too easy to fall into that trap. Now, we've proved that people working remotely can work, and we have to be super careful as we evolve, develop this concept of hybrid working moving forward, that we consider people who aren't able to come back to the office until such time, if it ever happens where we find a cure for COVID-19, obviously it's coronavirus, we haven't managed to do that yet. But it is important that we manage to do that, that we think about, well, how do we make sure that we continue to include those who are immunocompromised. The other bit about coming back to work safely, 32% of people, I'm just reading here, 32% of people would come back for hybrid working, but a large group of the people, 19% of people there, said stress was a big factor, and actually it didn't feel safe in work because of management. And so whatever you call it, we never used to call it psychological safety when I was in, kind of like when I was in work, but that's what we call it these days. And whatever you call it, it's got to feel safe for human beings to come to work, to do a job. Otherwise you risk that toxic culture destroying everything that you've built up, and ultimately destroying the brand as well. Anyway, that's your culture briefing for today. Hope you enjoyed it.